Alright, in this video I'll make a guitar Afrobeat that will sound like this. I'll go through each and every step and break it down from a beginner perspective. With that said, let's set our BPM to 105. I'll build the melody around this drum loop. Let's have a listen. For our guitar VST, we'll use the Jazz Guitar Finger B preset from Omnisphere. To begin with, we are going to come up with some chord progression, the foundational harmony, and then we build on from there. The easiest way to come up with chord progression that always works is to move in fifth. So let's select a random note. Let's say the G. Select the note, hold shift and drag to duplicate it. So we are going to count 7 steps upwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We just duplicate this and repeat the same process, count 7 steps upwards. Music has been around for a long while and people have studied the relationship between the 12 tones of the chromatic scale, the relationship between chords and progression. So basically there are guidelines that generally work if you follow them. Alright, so we'll just focus on major and minor chords. The major chord is built on the root, third and fifth degree of the scale. Since we don't even know what scale we are working in, you can use this formula to build the major and minor chord. So the R stands for the root, and the number 4 means we'll move 4 steps upwards from the root, and the number 7 also means we'll move 7 steps upwards from the root. So from the root G, count 7 steps upwards, and from the root again we just count 4 steps. We have our major chord which sounds happy. And to make minor chord, we maintain the same structure, but the middle note we just drop it half a step. Minor chords generally sound sad. So with that said, we can use this formula to build the major chord on all these notes real quick. Just move them around until you have this up and down pattern. So here we have our chord progression that really works together with these simple steps. But there's a pattern to it. The pattern is we are moving in fifth, which corresponds to the circle of fifth. A musical map that helps musicians understand keys, chords, and scales. Other uses of the circle of fifth includes building harmony. So looking at the circle and the pattern we have created, we are moving clockwise from G to D, A, and then E. Basically, if you move close enough in the circle, it's guaranteed that your chord progression will sound good. But a big jump usually sounds odd, but it still fits well in the progression. Let's say from the D major, we'll go to the B major. You hear that disconnection it creates in the progression. Let's make a big move to the E flat or D sharp. It's on the other half of the circle. Hear the dissonance it creates. You hear that disconnection again. Alright, so all we have done so far is moving in fifth and building major chords which sounds happy. But what if you want to make chord progressions that conveys emotions and connect with the audience? This brings us to scales. So scales are basically a sequence of musical notes arranged in order. In FL Studio, you can hit the drop down menu, view, scale highlighting. Since we have laid down a G major chord, let's select the G major scale and then select the root note as G. The highlighted light gray notes are the notes of the G major scale. Alternatively, you can add a sampler channel, hit the stamp icon, and from the melody scale category, we select the major scale. From here, we can select our root note G. I'll basically duplicate this note to fill a wider pitch range. All I'm doing is issuing the command Ctrl+A to select, holding Shift plus click to duplicate it, and Ctrl plus arrow up to bring it up an octave. So we have all these ghost notes here. If yours doesn't show, you can find it from this menu or hit Alt+V to activate it. You have probably heard of this before. Alright, so just keep this in your mind. The relative minor of any given major scale is the 6th degree. E in this case is the 6th degree in the G major scale. Just count it ascendingly. And the notes of the E minor scale are the same as the notes of the G major scale. That's the relationship they share. So looking at the circle, inside the circle are the relative minor key of the major scale. And like how we moved in the major scale to build a chord progression, we can apply same to the minor scale too. So we can basically pick a small section of the circle and then we can mix and match the major and minor scale to build our chord progression. So with the circle of fifth explained on how to build harmony, now let's get to the part that will build a chord progression that evokes emotion. All you need to understand is creating some form of tension and release. So the fifth chord in any major scale is called the dominant, and always it wants to resolve to the tonic or the root note of the scale. Alright, so we can make a simple chord progression using the circle of fifth as our guide. Well, there are different ways to play chord progression. The most simple but effective one is to hold the chord. Just hold them as block chords. Another way is to break them down as arpeggios. So this is what we are going to use, arpeggios, to craft our guitar melody. But before we arpeggiate these chords, one key thing I would like to point out is that guitar chords vary slightly from piano chords. Alright, let's ask ChatGTP to voice an open position G major chord on the guitar. So this is what it translates to the piano. If you look at the structure, the third is raised up an octave and then the root note is duplicated up an octave too. These repeated notes just add harmonic richness to the chords as all the 6 strings are struck. Now we can break the chords down to this simple arpeggio pattern. We can make it sound more interesting by adding passing notes. So for those of us who like to click in melody, I'd recommend you change your snap grade to half step or half beat. It's a good starting point. So this is way too much. Just keep it simple to support the chord to transition to other chords. This sounds okay. Now let's add some variation for the melody not to sound too repetitive. To make this fast guitar trills, change the snap to 1/3 step. Sounds good on this triplet. And to humanize the melody, just randomize the velocity or manually adjust them for a more realistic feel. From here, let's add other instruments to accompany the guitar. E-piano from Analog Lab 5. We copy the bass note of the guitar chords and then turn them into chords. From here, we layer the chords for it to sound a lot more fuller. But the thing is, when you are layering chords, don't just copy and paste. What you can do is revoice the chords in each instrument. And this takes the melody to another level. Lastly, we can add bass line. So basically, we start with the root note of the progression, and we can settle on a groove like this. For effect on the guitar, we have Guitar X6 and EQ to cut the low frequencies, reverb on the keys and EQ to cut the low frequencies as well. I'll see 20 on the E piano. And finally, our bass to enhance the low end harmonics on the bass. And done. Like always, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.